Noctambula, written and produced by Oliver Arnold. Chapter 4. Emily blinked, her eyes adjusting to the dim, early morning light that filtered weakly through the curtains. She was still in bed, with a cloud of confusion settling around her. Am I home? Yes. New home. Her head throbbed with a dull, persistent ache. Not quite a hangover, but something similar, a fog that refused to lift despite her best efforts to clear it. With a frustrated groan, she pushed herself upright and scanned the unfamiliar room, her thoughts drifting anxiously to her cell phone. She needed to find it desperately, if only for telling the time. The gray, muted light filtering through her thin curtains gave her no clue whether it was early dawn or approaching dusk. Emily swung her legs over the edge of the bed, fumbling in a half-awake daze. After visiting the grandfather clock, 11 a.m., she checked all common smartphone traps with increasing urgency, under her pillow, beneath the rumpled mattress, and through the scattered clothes from last night that lay in small heaps on the floor. "Where is the damn thing?" she muttered, unease growing steadily in her gut. Her movements became more frantic as she pulled open drawers, checked pockets, and even looked under the bed where dust bunnies ruled. The absence of her phone felt deliberate now, almost threatening, as if someone had intentionally removed her connection to the outside world. Her eyes drifted to the living room table with the heap of unpacked clothing still on it, waiting to be sorted. A black gap in the clothes stared at her like a void. There was something flashing inside that gap, a small red light blinking rhythmically. Why is everything around here weird? She wondered. Even an innocent pile of clothing had to bear a mystery, hold something unexpected. Emily walked over to the heap, her bare feet cold against the wooden floor, and after an initial hesitation, removed the top layer of clothes. The action camera greeted her, its lens reflecting her confused expression. It had been sitting there all this time, half buried under her laundry. Apparently, she had accidentally activated it. She turned it off, put it down, and returned her mind to the missing phone. Then she stopped abruptly. Has that thing been recording all night? Even with the clothes on top of it, the audio would reveal any sounds in the room. Emily turned it back on and navigated the menu to playback, her curiosity overpowering her desire to find her phone. She looked through the files with growing apprehension. Yes, there was indeed a recording. She skipped to the witching hours of the night and played a few minutes of footage. Nothing much was audible. There, a rustling. Was that the trees outside, branches scraping against the windows, faint but distinct? It was nothing, absolutely nothing. Then suddenly the rustle came again. Periodically, as if someone moved around carefully, their clothes chafed and produced that typical sound of churf-chorf pant leg rubbing. Had someone walked around the house while she slept? The visuals revealed nothing. No lights came on, or flashlights, or audio clues like whispering. Was it the bird? No, Bowdy didn't move around at night. His fluttering also sounded entirely different from these noises, usually more frantic and light. Someone had moved around, she was sure beyond any reasonable doubt. Emily stood perfectly still in the center of the room, now suddenly listening for anything in the house at this moment that might betray another presence. The silence was oppressive, almost suffocating, broken only by the periodic hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Then she realized it. The appliance's pump did sound vaguely like a person walking slowly. Gah! It was all nothing. Nothing! She shook her head vigorously. Emily put down the camera and cleansed her thoughts of this oppressive nonsense. She rushed outside into the crisp morning air. It was time to get work done, to focus on the tangible and productive, rather than chase shadows. A few hours later, Emily ran the brush down the final panel of her porch with meticulous care, admiring the fresh, even layer of pale blue paint that glistened in the afternoon sun. Hours of painstaking effort, 2 full cans of expensive paint, and countless careful strokes had gone into the job. But hey, now her little slice of the world looked bright and renewed, transformed from weathered to welcoming. Yes, There were frustrating bristles stuck all over the wall like tiny insects caught in amber, and when she'd tried to remove them with her fingers, she had accidentally smeared the paint around, creating even bigger imperfections. And then there was paint spattered all over the wooden floor in tiny constellations. But she'd learned so much about home improvement in the process. Satisfied with her accomplishment, Emily took a step back, set down her paintbrush, and climbed down from her ladder, feeling a deep ache in her shoulders and back as she stretched her tired muscles. Her fingers were still sticky with paint smudges as she cracked open a cold soda from the cooler beside her and took a long, cool, refreshing sip before finally letting her gaze drift beyond her work to take in the surrounding property. And that's when she noticed it. A strange line cutting through the sand in her driveway, so unnaturally straight and precise that it couldn't possibly be accidental, nothing created by the random forces of nature. The line didn't look like it was made by cars or by human footsteps. It had a mechanical precision that seemed out of place in the rural setting. It was also quite thin. How had she missed this obvious anomaly thus far, despite walking past it multiple times? Something about its geometric precision caught her immediate attention, and after a few moments of growing curiosity, she put down her drink on the porch railing and wandered over for a closer inspection. The mark was faint but unmistakable, and as she nudged the sand around with the toe of her shoe, she uncovered the sharp, metallic edge of what appeared to be a metal plate embedded firmly in the ground, flush with the earth as if intended to remain hidden from casual observation. The paint fumes had left her a bit lightheaded and disoriented, and she wasn't entirely sure if this strange discovery was making her more curious or increasingly nervous. "What are you hiding?" she asked the ground, crouching down to brush more sand away from the plate's edges with her fingertips. The shape gradually revealed itself under her probing, square, perfectly aligned with the direction of her driveway. She used her paintbrush to clear away more of the sand. It revealed a small, round hole on one side of the plate, just wide enough to use as leverage for lifting. Her heart began to beat faster with anticipation. She grabbed a flathead screwdriver, slid it into the hole, and carefully pried with a strength born of curiosity. The lid groaned as it lifted on hinges stiff with age and disuse, and a rush of stale, musty air escaped from below, like the exhalation of something long imprisoned. Wrinkling her nose at the unpleasant smell, Emily leaned over cautiously, peering down into what looked like a cavernous space beneath the driveway. It stretched down approximately 10 feet into the earth, its walls lined methodically with gray cinder blocks and cement that had darkened with moisture over time. The faint odor of mold, decay, pungent and sickly sweet, assaulted her senses. She recoiled instinctively, covering her nose to block the odor, and took several steps back, more disturbed than intrigued by her discovery. What is or was this odd underground chamber? She wondered aloud. She glanced around nervously as if someone might suddenly appear to offer an explanation for this bizarre feature. She was torn between wanting to know more about the peculiar space and feeling the hairs on her arms prickling with instinctive apprehension. She reached habitually for her phone, hoping to look up anything that might explain this strange feature, but her hand met only the worn fabric of her faded jeans. She cursed quietly under her breath, realizing with renewed frustration that she still didn't have her missing device. Taking one last apprehensive look at the shadowy cavity yawning beneath her feet, like the entrance to another world, she slammed the metal cover shut with a firm, resonant clang, letting the darkness swallow whatever secrets lay below. Of course, it was a safety hazard. As creepy as the meat man was, Emily didn't want to find him crashed into this thing in the morning, looking much like his sustenance. She filled the hole's seams back in with sand as well, ensuring that whatever spirit might have been captive down there didn't have any gaps to escape this night. Here was another question for Patrick when he finally showed up. Patrick, where on earth was he when she needed his practical advice? Did he say he'd come in 2 or 3 days? How many days had passed in her phoneless haze? Emily realized with dawning horror that without her phone, she'd have to resort to primitive methods like marking lines on the wall to keep track of passing days like a prisoner. Ridiculous. As evening gradually slipped into deepening dusk, She cleaned up her painting supplies methodically, took a quick, hot shower to wash away the paint and grime from her skin, and tried valiantly to shake off the persistent unease that had crept into her bones. But as she sat alone on her freshly painted porch, nursing a glass of red wine, the burning curiosity gnawed relentlessly at her mind, mixing with the subtle chill in the evening air that raised goosebumps on her arms. Her thoughts drifted aimlessly to the stories she'd heard about old houses and their hidden spaces, forgotten Cold War bomb shelters, concealed wells from another era, even makeshift root cellars built by resourceful previous owners for storing vegetables through harsh winters. But the unusual location directly under her driveway, the deliberate secrecy of its design, and the strange construction of the space didn't quite add up logically to any of those familiar, innocent explanations. What if it was something far worse than an innocent storage space? Some kind of hidden room designed for nefarious purposes, a trap door into something illegal or even dangerous? Had someone used the property for criminal activities, leaving behind evidence she would be better off not discovering? With a violent shudder that ran through her entire body, she forced herself to shut down the increasingly disturbing stream of speculation. Whatever it was, it had been lying dormant underground for who knows how long, probably forgotten and essentially harmless. Emily felt exhausted from the physical labor and emotional stress of the day. She checked the grandfather clock. It read 5 p.m. That couldn't possibly be right. Or was it? It felt like 2 a.m. With a defeated sigh, she headed to the living room. "All right, Bodhi. Good night, I guess." Bodhi squawked in confusion when Emily drew the sheet across his cage. She never covered her bird this early, but she wasn't sure how late she was going to last today and didn't want the poor guy open and on edge all night. "Enough if one of us is," she said with a bitter smile. When she headed for the bedroom, she passed the living room table with the clothes on it. "I'll do those tomorrow," she thought, and saw the camera. With the day's excitement, she had all but forgotten about it. She grabbed the little box and played with it in her hand while assessing the room. "I'm going to put you up tonight," she then said, and picked the top of a cabinet to sit the camera facing the front door. "If there's any action tonight," she shuddered, "I'll catch it. After I'm murdered, at least the FBI will find some evidence." She set the device to record and verified the memory card. 12 hours left. She was glad she'd picked the premium storage, plenty of room for an entire night. Next, she went around the house and made sure no hidden visitors remained. Every time she opened another closet, she tensed, absolutely expecting a spooky visitor hiding beneath a stack of old junk in the corner. But no unwanted visitors were found, and after checking all windows and the front door's lock another time, she headed to the bedroom with a defeated sigh. Tonight, she'd sleep with the lights on, at the very least in the hallway and upstairs, not to disturb the bird. She collapsed onto her bed without even changing clothes. You've heard the 4th chapter of Noctambula, written and produced by Oliver Arnold.